Adrian Reyes had translated 1,000 alien languages, but nothing prepared him for the moment. A 6-year-old Veloran child walked up to him in a coffee shop and whispered his name, a name her mother spoke in dreams, from a past he couldn't remember, about a connection that should have been impossible. Adrian Reyes had long ago stopped marveling at the sight of aliens buying coffee. 3 years after first contact, the universe had become disappointingly mundane. The Zenthari diplomat arguing with the barista about oat milk. The Kelvin engineer absorbed in her holographic blueprints, her skin shifting through irritated shades of purple. Even the Veloran child staring at him from across the quantum drip. Well, children stared. That's what they did. He turned back to his datapad, scrolling through another thrilling translation request. 17 pages on waste reclamation protocols between Earth and the outer colonies. His synthi coffee arrived, steam curling upward in patterns that the cup's nanosensors had programmed to resemble nebulas. Marketing gimmick. Everything was a gimmick now. You're Adrian Reyes. The voice was small, certain, and directly beside his elbow. He looked down. The Veloran child stood there, no more than waist-high, with those distinctive ears that swept back like a bird preparing for flight. Her eyes were remarkable even by Veloran standards, shifting between colors that Earth's spectrum didn't quite account for. "That's me," he said, mustering his best stranger-danger-appropriate smile. "Are you lost?" "No." She tilted her head, studying him with unnerving focus. "My mother already knows you, human. She speaks your name in her dreams." The datapad slipped from his fingers, clattering against the table. Around them, the café continued its morning ritual. The hiss of steam, the murmur of a dozen languages, the gentle ping of incoming messages. Normal sounds for an abnormal statement. "I think you've got the wrong person, kid. You've already met her, you just don't remember yet." A woman rushed over, human, flustered, her translator earpiece blinking with connection errors. "I'm so sorry. Lysa, we talked about this. You can't just walk up to strangers." She grabbed the child's hand, shooting Adrian an apologetic grimace. "She says things sometimes, very imaginative. The xenopsychologist says it's just cultural adjustment issues." But Adrian barely heard her. He was locked onto the child's gaze, watching something like ancient knowledge swim behind those impossible eyes. His chest felt tight. The café seemed too bright suddenly, too loud. "What's your mother's name?" The guardian was already pulling Lysa away, still apologizing, but the child twisted back. Her voice dropped to a whisper, switching to Veloran. Adrian's trained ear caught it, translated it automatically. "The bridge remembers what the traveler forgets." Then they were gone, disappearing into the morning crowd of humans and aliens navigating the streets of Neo-Singapore. Adrian stood there, his coffee forgotten and cooling. His reflection stared back from the café window, a man who looked exactly like he had 5 minutes ago but felt fundamentally different. He'd worked with dozens of Velorans, hundreds of translations, standard cultural exchanges, diplomatic protocols, nothing memorable. So why did his hands shake? Why did that phrase, "the bridge remembers," feel like a key turning in a lock he didn't know existed? His comlink buzzed. Jamie's face appeared, grinning with that particular expression that meant she was about to say something deliberately unhelpful. "You look like you've seen a ghost. Did the coffee machine achieve sentience again?" "A kid just told me her mother dreams about me." "Adrian, I've told you. You need to stop giving your number out at." She was Veloran, maybe 6 years old. Jamie's grin faltered. "That's oddly specific." "Yeah." He finally looked away from the window. Outside, the city hummed with its hybrid existence. Human architecture wrapped in alien technology, species mingling in ways that should have been impossible 4 years ago. Everything had changed. Everything was new, so why did this feel like remembering? "I think I need to find her," he said quietly. "The kid or the mother? I don't know yet, maybe both." The work logs yielded nothing. Adrian had checked twice, then 3 times, his eyes burning from staring at blue-lit screens in his apartment's darkness. Every Veloran interaction over 3 years, cataloged and timestamped. Cultural exchange seminars. Trade negotiation vocabularies. A memorable incident involving a Veloran poet who'd insisted that human pronouns were violence against linguistic beauty. Nothing that explained a child who knew his name. "You look terrible," Jamie announced, materializing in his doorway with 2 containers of something that smelled vaguely like Thai food. "Also, you didn't answer my messages." Plural. "I've been working." "You've been obsessing." She kicked the door shut, tossed him a container. "Eat, then tell me why you're hunting ghosts." The food was good, probably. Adrian couldn't taste it. His mind kept circling back to those 3 words. She speaks your name, not she knows you. Not she met you once. She speaks your name, present tense, ongoing, like a prayer or a curse. "What if there are gaps?" he said finally. Jamie looked up from her noodles, one eyebrow raised. "Gaps in what? Your charm. Your sense of style, my memory, around first contact. Those weeks were chaos. Everyone was working triple shifts, the neural translation tests." He stopped. Something flickered at the edge of his thoughts, slippery as mercury. "The neural tests were voluntary," Jamie said carefully. "You didn't participate. You told me they sounded dangerous." "Right, I remember saying that. But did he? Or did he remember the memory of having that opinion?" The distinction suddenly felt crucial. Jamie set down her food, her humor evaporating. "Adrian, if you're having cognitive issues, there are protocols. The medical AI can run a full. I'm not sick, there was someone. I can feel the shape of it, but I can't see it clearly." He stood, began pacing. His apartment was small, designed for efficiency rather than comfort, but right now it felt like a cage. "The kid said her mother dreams about me. What if it's mutual? What if I've been dreaming about someone I don't remember meeting? That's either very romantic or very concerning, and I haven't decided which yet." He pulled up his personal calendar, scrolling back 2 years. The first contact celebration had lasted a week. His official schedule showed meetings, presentations, one disastrous attempt at diplomacy involving champagne, and a species that metabolized alcohol as a neurotoxin. But there were hours unaccounted for. Gaps in the record where he should have been somewhere, but the data just said personal time. "Everyone needed breaks that week," Jamie offered. "You probably just forgot to log everything. You were exhausted. Or something was removed from the logs. Now you sound paranoid." "Maybe," he turned to face her. "But what if I'm not? The Velorans have technology we barely understand. Neural interfaces, consciousness mapping. What if something happened that I was supposed to forget?" Jamie was quiet for a long moment, her physicist's mind probably calculating probabilities. "You want to go to the Veloran district? I need answers." "You need therapy, but sure, let's go poke around an alien neighborhood asking uncomfortable questions. What could go wrong?" She stood, grabbing her jacket. "But we're doing this tomorrow in daylight, and you're buying me real coffee first. The kind that doesn't predict your future in the foam. Deal?" That night Adrian dreamed of forests made of crystal that sang. He woke gasping, the melody still echoing in his ears. A sound that shouldn't exist, that human vocal cords couldn't produce. He reached for his datapad, hands shaking, and recorded himself humming the notes he remembered. When he played it back, the audio software flagged it as Veloran musical structure. Traditional lullaby pattern. He'd never studied Veloran music. He had no reason to know that melody. But he hummed it perfectly, like remembering a song from childhood, and somewhere in Neo-Singapore, he was certain, a woman was waking from dreams that spoke his name. The Veloran Cultural District existed in deliberate contrast to Neo-Singapore's chrome and glass. Adrian stepped through the boundary gate and the air itself changed, thicker somehow, carrying scents that his brain couldn't quite categorize. Sweet but not floral, sharp but not chemical, alien. "I feel like we're trespassing," Jamie muttered, staying close to his side. "We're not, it's a public district." Public in the technical sense. Notice how everyone's staring. She wasn't wrong. Velorans paused in their movements, those elegant ears turning toward them with unmistakable attention. A group of adolescents whispered, their voices creating harmonics that made Adrian's teeth ache pleasantly. He'd researched enough to know they weren't being rude, just curious. Humans rarely ventured here without official business. "We're looking for information about a child," Adrian called out in Veloran, his accent probably atrocious. "Her name is Lysa." The whispers stopped. Several Velorans exchanged glances, and Adrian caught the universal body language of people deciding whether to get involved. Finally, an elderly woman approached, her ears nearly white with age, her movements deliberate. "Many children have that name," she said in perfect English, studying Adrian with eyes that had seen more than he could imagine. "This one told me her mother knows me, speaks my name in dreams." The woman's expression shifted, subtle but definite. Recognition, maybe, or concern. "You bear the mark of the confluence." "The what now?" Jamie stage whispered. "I don't know what that means," Adrian admitted. "Those who have touched minds across the void." The woman reached toward him, stopped just short of contact. "May I?" He nodded, not sure what he was agreeing to. Her fingers brushed his temple, cool and dry, and for a moment the world tilted sideways. He saw, felt, something vast and interconnected, like a web of light stretching across dimensions he couldn't name. Then she withdrew and the world snapped back to normal, mostly normal. His heart was racing. "You should seek the Remembrance Gardens," she said quietly. "At sunset, those who have forgotten may find their echoes there." "That's ominous and unhelpful in equal measure," Jamie said, but the woman was already walking away. They found the gardens on the district's eastern edge, half park and half something else entirely. The plants responded to proximity, flowers turning to follow their movement, grass rippling in patterns that suggested consciousness. Adrian checked his watch. 40 minutes until sunset. "We're really doing this," Jamie said. "Standing in a mystical garden waiting for mysterious answers. You know, this is how every horror story starts, right? It's also how every romance starts." "Wow, you're more optimistic than I thought." She settled onto a bench that adjusted its shape to accommodate her. "Though if an alien woman actually has been dreaming about you, that's either the best pickup story ever or evidence of some kind of psychic stalking." Adrian didn't answer. He was watching the sun descend, painting the alien flowers in colors that Earth's evolution had never needed to name. And there, in the distance, a figure moved through the gardens with the kind of grace that made the term walking seem insufficient. She was Veloran, he could tell from the ears, from the way she moved like water finding its path. But even from here, even without seeing her face clearly, something in his chest recognized her. A key sliding into a lock. A bridge finding its other shore. "Adrian?" Jamie's voice seemed to come from very far away. The woman turned. Their eyes met across 50 meters of impossible flowers, and Adrian remembered, not everything, not clearly, but enough. A room filled with light, hands touching neural sensors, the feeling of barriers dissolving, of being known completely, of knowing in return. 3 minutes that had contained eternities. She spoke his name, just that. Adrian. But the way she said it, like she'd been holding the word carefully in her mouth for 2 years, keeping it safe, keeping it warm. He tried to respond but found his throat had forgotten how to work. The woman Sera, his mind supplied without knowing how it knew, walked toward him with steps that seemed both hesitant and inevitable. "You came," she said, and smiled. And Adrian felt something in his chest that had been frozen for 2 years begin, finally, to thaw. Jamie had excused herself with impressive tact, something about checking out the bioluminescent moss, leaving Adrian alone with Sera in a garden that seemed to breathe around them. He wanted to demand explanations, to anchor himself in facts and logic, but the words that came out were simpler. "I don't remember you, not really, just fragments, dreams." "They suppressed your memories," Sera said, settling onto the grass in a way that invited him to join her. After the neural connection, protocol demanded it. The intimacy was deemed dangerous. And you, I refused the procedure. Kept everything. Her smile was gentle, sad. Perhaps that was selfish. Adrian sat, his mind racing through implications. We were test subjects for the neural translator prototype. That actually happened. For 3 minutes we shared everything. Your loneliness, my curiosity, your terrible jokes, yes, even those came through. She laughed and the sound made flowers nearby pulse with light. I saw your childhood apartment in Berlin. You saw my home world singing forests. We were more intimate than most beings ever manage in lifetimes. He struggled for words. That's not possible. Cross-species neural integration, the consciousness bandwidth alone. Your species puts everything in boxes, she said warmly. Even mysteries, even miracles. So what? We had some kind of psychic connection, and then they just erased me. Not entirely. The procedure isn't perfect. Your dreams leak through. The melancholy you felt on certain evenings, those were echoes of missing someone you couldn't name. She reached toward him, stopped. May I show you? He nodded. Her fingers touched his temple, and suddenly he was falling through memories that felt both foreign and intimately his own. The testing facility. The moment their minds touched. Not violent, not invasive, but like coming home to a place he'd never been. He saw himself through her eyes, uncertain, hopeful, terrified of never truly connecting with another being. And he saw her through his past self's perception, brilliant, lonely in ways that transcended species, yearning for understanding in a universe of beautiful isolation. The memories faded. He was breathing hard, tears on his face that he couldn't remember shedding. Lysa, he managed. She said she's yours. She's ours. Not biologically. She was orphaned young, her parents lost to illness. But she carries the imprint of what we created. Consciousness isn't confined to individual bodies, Adrian. When minds touch as deeply as ours did, something remains. A quantum entanglement of identity. She paused. Your curiosity. Your kindness. Your absolutely terrible sense of humor about translation errors. She has these too. I don't understand. You don't have to, not completely. Some bridges don't need blueprints. Over the following weeks, Adrian learned what it meant to be part of something he couldn't categorize. Lysa would visit his apartment, teaching him Veloran children's games that involved harmonics his throat couldn't quite manage. Jamie made increasingly elaborate jokes about cosmic custody arrangements and alien PTA meetings, but her eyes were approving. Sera would arrive in the evenings, and they'd talk, sometimes about the past they were piecing back together, more often about the present they were building. Does it bother you? Adrian asked one night, watching Lysa arrange flowers that responded to her emotions. That I can't remember it all. You're remembering the important part, Sera said. The connection itself. Everything else is just details. 3 months after that first encounter in the café, Adrian stood in the remembrance gardens at sunset, Sera beside him, Lysa playing nearby with other Veloran children who'd accepted her human father by consciousness with remarkable ease. The city of Neo-Singapore sprawled beyond the gardens, full of impossible combinations and improbable families. I still don't know how this works, he admitted. Cross-species parenting, quantum-entangled consciousness, any of it. Good, Sera said, taking his hand. If you understood everything, you'd probably try to translate it, and some things are better left without words. Lysa called out, wanting him to see her flower arrangement, blooms organized in patterns that suggested mathematical sequences. His influence probably mixed with her Veloran instincts. Impossible and perfect. He'd spent his life trying to bridge gaps between minds, between species, between isolated consciousnesses seeking connection. The universe, it seemed, had decided to take him literally. And standing there, between the woman who'd known him in dreams and the child who'd recognized him across the void, Adrian realized that sometimes the best translations required no words at all. Just trust, just presence, just the willingness to believe that love could find its way across any distance, even the space between forgetting and remembering.